This video is going to be a film study look at how Lamar Jackson, Todd Monken, and the Baltimore Ravens offense and their team went on attack first against the Lions in their Week 7 win. Surprising that they were able to jump out 28-0, at least for me. I'm going to really focus this video on the first 3 possessions and how the Ravens went into attack mode early in terms of throwing the football, but also taking possession of the ball first. Coach Harbaugh's explained that it has something to do with the wind, setting themselves up for that, so I understand that. But even the play calls on the first 3 drives, 21 of the first 28 play calls were pass plays by call. Now, there's 2 scrambles in here. I'll show you one of them. So in terms of the first 3 drives, it ends up being 19 passes and 9 runs. But in reality, it's 21-7. That's 75% pass play calls on the first 3 drives. I think that tells you a lot what the Ravens coaches were thinking. Additionally, there's a lot of plays here where you'll see that we're attacking to the boundary against the Lions' base defense with the pass. So once we saw that 21 personnel was eliciting their base 3-4 defense, we really took advantage of that look, particularly on a couple of deeper routes. I thought this was clearly an attempt by the Ravens to attack the Lions with the pass. The Lions were regaining Brian Branch, first came back from injury for a while. Losing Jerry Jacobs, I thought, was a big factor. He's got 3 interceptions this year. He also got 3 or 4 defensive pass interference penalties, don't get me wrong. But to me, it looked like the Lions couldn't settle on what coverages to play. And I'll try to explain the coverages to you in this video that I think they're playing. And there's really just not many good choices for them. Additionally, their lack of pass rush, I think, was really illustrated in Sunday's game. To recap a little bit, the week before against the Bucs, they only had 1 sack and 4 QB hits. But a lot of us passed it off, myself included, as, oh, okay, the Bucs have a really good offensive line, and that's true. But think about the game before that. The only sack against the Panthers was Aiden Hutchinson, I believe. And the Panthers have given up 18 sacks in all their other games, except for that game against the Lions, when they only gave up 1 sack and I think 3 quarterback hits. All of those factors, I think, created a perfect storm that was just too much for the Lions to deal with on Sunday, particularly out of their base defense look. They've been surviving with using Jack Campbell and Derek Barnes occasionally as edge defenders because of so many injuries that they've had at that position, and the Ravens really exploited that with 21 personnel quite often. So let's get to some of the film. My apologies, my mic went out. And I'll detail the down and distance. So this is a 2nd and 8 on the Ravens' first possession. It's going to be an RPO. Really, we would call it a quadruple option when we first saw this stuff. It's a snag to OBJ for 11 yards into the boundary out of 11 personnel. So the running back crossing Lamar's face will be option number 1. Lamar keeping the ball, which he does, and potentially scrambling is option number 2. OBJ running the little snag here between the top of the numbers and the hash is option number 3. And then even though he's not really running this shoot route out like he's going to get the ball, theoretically, Zay Flowers becomes option number 4. They're running this to the boundary against the nickel defense for the Lions, and you can see that Aiden Hutchinson has gone with the running back, the gap exchange with Alex Anzalone, so he's coming over the top to be responsible for Lamar on the backside, and OBJ's wide open. They just haven't matched this. They didn't communicate it correctly between Tracy Walker and Cam Sutton. Ends up being an 11-yard gain by OBJ. And I thought OBJ played fantastic. My apologies, it's not 11 personnel. It's 20 personnel. You can see Ricard's on. Hutchinson is a guy that goes with his key, which is what you're supposed to do. He goes down to take away the running back, potentially get a tackle for loss if it's a give to Justice Hill. Lamar keeps it. Slick little move to OBJ into the boundary, away from the nickel defender with motion. So cool design. 1st and 10, very next play. And this is Flowers for 46. Now, the cool thing about this is 21 personnel for us. So we've got 2 running backs on the field, one of which is Ricard, and then 1 tight end. You can see we're in our bunch A alignment. So it's a 21 personnel group, but it's not a 2-back formation. Ricard is serving as a tight end. Look at what the Lions have matched here. They got Jack Campbell on as the other outside linebacker in a 3-4 look. They're going to drop him out in this pseudo cover 3 look. When Andrews goes underneath, Kirby Joseph goes with him, and then the deeper dig by Flowers fits right onto that open space, 46 yards. Big play on a 1st and 10. Very next play after that first down to OBJ, first possession. You can see just too much time for Lamar. The 4-man rushes were not effective for the Lions, particularly early at all. And you'll get a nice view of it here from the end zone angle. Gus and Simpson pulling to go protect out here on the edge. You got Ricard and Stanley out here on the edge. So you got a 7-man protection scheme, 3 guys in the route. Great throw by Lamar over top of the extended arms of Derek Barnes. 46 yards to Zay Flowers. They're really lucky that he didn't take it to the sideline and possibly take that to the house. So 3rd and 3 from the 9, and it's 12 personnel. The Lions have matched up with their nickel defense. Excuse me, this is their base defense. That's Anzalone. I think that's Barnes, and I think that's Jack Campbell. They've got Tracy Walker in the box here. And I think it's RPO. Likely is a little bit confused up at the top side. For whatever reason, Lamar doesn't choose to throw it to him. And it's a nice play by Tracy Walker to make the tackle on Lamar and hold us to a 2-yard gain. At this moment here, me personally, after this play, I'm like, take the points, take the points, take the points. But we go for it, and it turns out in our favor. Well, why? Well, we're running the boot here to the boundary on this 4th and 1. And what you'll see is Kaminsky runs down the line with the potential run away from him, and then Jack Campbell, unfortunately for the Lions, is going to fold inside. No one is on boot. I think this is kind of illustrative of the fact that they've been surviving without another legitimate edge defender since the injury to James Houston IV. Charles Harris had an injury earlier in the year, I think. Among others, Josh Pascal missed some time. So you got Ricard on the motion, left to right. You've also got Simpson pulling. A lot of eye candy there for the defense. So Kaminsky is going to run down the line to go with the run, but the one you want to focus on here is Campbell holding inside. There's just, I mean, it's not like necessarily he's going to make the play if Ronnie Stanley's out here to block him, but real lack of awareness just kind of shows his inexperience playing the edge defender at the NFL level. They've been using him there because he's a reliable football player, but in this case, it didn't work out in their favor. Easy 7-yard touchdown scramble by Lamar to cap the first drive. Really kind of looked easy. At that point, of course, it's a great block by Ronnie Stanley, basically depositing the safety back in the back of the end zone. So let's move to the second possession, and this is 11 personnel. At this point, I feel like perhaps Aaron Glenn was starting to figure it out. He goes to a 5-man rush with man free, but what happens if you don't get there? Then there's a lot of room to take advantage of. And the Ravens do a pretty good job on this one, I think, of picking it up. Moses working on Hutchinson here. 99, I think one of the Okwara brothers. You can see the nice little shield they've given Lamar. He's already throwing the ball. This is a 3rd and 7 to Bateman over the middle, 16 yards. When you play man free with a 5-man rush, you're vacating the middle of the field. So what I mean by that is the low hole area, if it's a 4-man rush, a typical version of man free or cover one, you're going to have someone in that area to potentially respond to balls thrown over the middle. The Lions have chosen to blitz that 5th defender to deal with Lamar's mobility, and Lamar hits the perfect counter to it right in the open space that's vacated by where theoretically that defender could have been. 2 plays later, again, it's going to be Bateman off a play action fake. This is 2nd and 10. This is man free with a 4-man rush. There's really no good option here for this Lions team in terms of the matchups, at least yesterday. If they play this game next week, maybe Aaron Glenn goes to some different coverages and some different schemes, but we'll pause it here so you can see it. You clearly got man. You got a man turn here, man by Branch, man out there. I think that's Tracy Walker, man on Andrews. One of these guys is responsible for the back. The other one is playing the low hole area. That's actually an elongated rectangle there. My apologies. But you can see, I think it's Jack Campbell responsible for the middle of the field between the hashes low, and then there's your free safety in the middle of the field. Mike Tomlin had a great quote about defending Lamar. He's like, a spy doesn't work. Now, that's not a spy, what Jack Campbell's doing. That's man free with a low hole dropper and a free safety in the middle of the field. It may look like a spy to some people, but Mike Tomlin's point was, man, you just need that 5th. You just bring him. Make Lamar get rid of the ball and live with what we saw 2 plays ago, which was the 16-yarder to Bateman on 3rd and 7. It just didn't seem like any of these situations worked out for the Lions. Cool little attempt at a snag, and again, the lack of pass rush. This is a 3rd and 2 on that second possession. Lamar scrambles out there. It's an active job by Barnes, I think, to go after Lamar and at least make the tackle out to the boundary. You got a clear attempt by OBJ to pick Jack Campbell, and he smacks him in the mouth. If Lamar's looking here, he probably goes to Justice Hill for the first down on the conversion. As it stands, you got a zone relationship down here with these guys, and they've matched the routes up pretty well. But again, it's only 4-man rush. Nobody's getting there. Nobody's winning. And Lamar's able to scramble out of there. Even though it's a short gain and a great play by Derek Barnes, if you ask me, you might have been better served to just bring him in that situation and not let Lamar escape anyway. But of course, if you do that, then maybe Lamar throws for a first down. That hence you see the quandary that defenses are in when dealing with him. This should be a 2nd and 7 to the boundary for OBJ, short pass. I am glad that we're checking these here. I am glad that we're going to the backside quick, even if it's inconsequential in terms of the yardage. I think it's only a 4-yard gain to OBJ. First of all, who looks really good, if you ask me. You guys let me know what you think. Physical, strong, great hands, obviously. I love to see his effort level, especially on blocking. So sets us up for a 3rd and 3, and this is, again, a 4-man rush, man-free by the Lions. This is the play that the announcers talked about. Lamar gets almost 10 seconds. It does look like to me that, maybe the Lions D-line wasn't trying. I said this in the reaction video. Maybe the Lions D-line wasn't trying to get home here. They were just trying to cage Lamar on his 3rd and 3. But looking at it now, clearly looks like Aiden Hutchinson is trying to get off here and get after Lamar. But look at the lack of get off you've got by the other guys. Maybe that was the call for them not to rush. I think the Lions definitely need another edge rusher, a guy who can win over there on the other side. Of course, I'm a big fan of James Houston at 4th. I don't know that he would solve all the problems, but anyway, Brian Branch, Garden, Aguilar looking back here at Lamar, even though it's man, and just that little bit of hesitation allows Aguilar to separate. Lamar finds him, easy touchdown, way too much time, obviously. If you're a Lions fan, I don't know what the options were that were going to work, but to go through it one more time, man, here, and there. Free safety is the middle of the field guy. Then your other inside linebacker, it will be potentially your 5th rusher. He's the low hole dropper in the middle of the field. No one is able to get to Lamar. Now check out who is there late to help at least force him to throw the ball. That's Hutchinson and Derek Barnes. I offer that maybe the Lions would have been better off just bringing that 5th guy, but you saw the 3rd and 7 where Rashad Bateman got open for the 16-yard gain when they brought a 5-man rush. That didn't necessarily work either, at least on Sunday. 3rd possession, 1st and 10 from the negative 8-yard line, and this is a clear-out wheel to the top side of the field, and then OBJ on the deep over. I love this concept for the Ravens because we're wheeling Andrews up the sideline, and we're getting that boundary side guy out of there. So Andrews is in a pro set. He's going to run a wheel out here. That's going to pull Jack Campbell. And then OBJ from off screen to our right is going to go over the top of the 2nd level, hence the name deep over concept. A little bit of an unusual play fake there from Lamar. And I think Hutchinson's spin's going to work this time. He's going to spin out. Tracy Walker is blitzing. And unfortunately for the Lions, they're not able to get there in time. Lamar, another throw deftly put over the top of Barnes. 20 yards to OBJ. Beautiful stuff. I saw some criticism of the Ravens passing game on Twitter maybe 20 minutes before I recorded this. I don't know, man. I'm struggling to see it. You can see the base defense on the field. For the Lions, you got your 5-man front, your 2 inside linebackers. Walker's rolled up as the strong safety. And so we're hitting them to the – it seemed to me when it was their base personnel, we were hitting them to the boundary. But, sometimes that's just sheer chance that happens 2 or 3 times in a row. So after that, first down, 2 plays later, we're a 3rd and 11, and this is Flowers too easy up to the top side. This timing route, this deep out against Will Harris, who was out there. I'm not sure that that's necessarily his natural position. I don't want to disparage the guy he stepped in place of Jerry Jacobs. You got Morgan Moses and Hutchinson battling here. Lamar, again, there's just nobody else, approaching the quarterback at all besides Hutchinson. Really a one-man gang as far as trying to get pressure. Great throw by Lamar. Too easy, too much space. I think this is about the time when Greg Olsen started to talk about that. You do have a chip here by Likely. I thought the Ravens did a great job on the chips throughout the game. Deep out by Flowers. Same play, by the way. Deep out by Flowers. No help for Will Harris in all that space, even though it's to the boundary. And we get a huge gain for another 20-yarder. This one was huge. This is a big mistake. They're in their base defense, and no one's lined up to trips. And what I mean by that is you got 1, 2, and then 3 receivers here. We're in 21 personnel. So the Lions, have matched with their base defense. 5-man front, 2 inside backers. There's your strong safety. I think they've gone corners over. So I think both of these 2 guys is their corners. And then the free safety is back here in the middle of the field. So they're just not matching the trips because I think the 2 inside backers are reading Justice Hill. And so what I mean by that is I think if Hill was to go out this way, I think Barnes would go with him and Anzalone would blitz because there's only one guy over here left to run a route, and that's a man call for Walker, almost like a little bit of a bear concept, but he's not on the line of scrimmage. As it stands, Hill crosses face. So Anzalone goes with him, and Barnes blitzes. Well, then there's nobody to cover Ricard because they got their base defense on the field. I'm not saying that, hey, you put your nickel defense on the field and you would solve this, but no one matches up with Ricard. He is wide open and ends up a 26-yard gain. Huge play at that moment, I thought, for the Ravens, because it just illustrates the coverage answers for the Lions just were not there on Sunday. Were they to match up again later in the season? First of all, that'd be amazing because that means they would meet in the Super Bowl, and that'd be a heck of a lot of fun for me. Maybe the situation would be different. Maybe they would have better personnel out there, number one. Number two, make different coverage choices, force Lamar to get rid of the ball earlier. I just don't think any of those things were going to work Sunday. The matchups were just totally in our favor. The speed differential looked real. This is the counter to Mitchell. There's no pulling linemen on this. It's another situation where the DNs for the Lions are well-trained, and so they're going with their key. So what I mean by key is, this is one of the Okwara brothers over here. I think it's Julian. Stanley's going to block down, and you got Flowers on flow away. So he's stepping down the line because he's thinking it's run away, or maybe he's going to get a kick-out block. As it happens, likely loops around, leaves him unblocked, and Keaton Mitchell's just too fast for the guy. It's great scheme by the Ravens. This is the third time I've seen them leave that boundary side guy unblocked, and nothing of consequence happened. They don't chip him. He doesn't step up field. 9-yard gain by Keaton Mitchell. Just as an aside, the Ravens ran. The last time I seen the Ravens run this play was 2021 in Pittsburgh, first drive, and that wasn't a shovel by Lamar like that. It was that actual handoff to J.K. Dobbins, I think, for a touchdown. Maybe it was in Baltimore in 2021, but in any case, actually J.K. didn't play in 2021. My apologies. This is the boot for the touchdown to Andrews, and we've got to highlight Campbell again. This is to the boundary, and it's a play action. Andrews is running across, and Campbell's just going to step down and not collision Andrews at all. There's a problem in either case. Lamar could potentially scramble out there, but Campbell's inexperience at edge defender kind of showed up in full speed here in this game. And I'm a big fan of Jack Campbell's, but this to me kind of illustrates where the Lions are lacking right now is the DN/outside linebacker guys opposite Aiden Hutchinson, and give the Ravens credit for exploiting that, not just Jack Campbell, but other guys too, and really attacking their edge defenders opposite of Hutchinson, I think, in some key moments, particularly on the bootleg touchdown run by Lamar on the first possession, and then this touchdown to Andrews on the third possession. I think the Ravens did a great job of scheming things up. I disagree entirely with a couple of famous people I see on Twitter talking about the Ravens' pass game was sloppy or clunky or whatever. I mean, I think sometimes people are selling out to try to get to try to suck up and talk about how good one player played, Lamar, which he did. He played amazing. But you got to give credit to the other guys and the coaching staff for some of the things they schemed up. And if a former NFL quarterback doesn't recognize it, I don't know what to say. Ravens outflanked the Lions' base defense, attacked the boundary consistently, and really, I think, took advantage of the boundary side defensive ends often. And so many guys made plays. You have to give credit to Lamar for sharing the football. Talked about it in one of the previews last weekend. Well, Saturday, excuse me. It seems like a long time ago. It's a true spread offense right now. And that might mean that no one's going to get 80 catches, but a bunch of guys might get 65 or 70. And I think there's something to be said for that. Would Mark Andrews or Rashad Bateman or Zay Flowers like to have 80, 85, 90 catches on their resume? Of course they would. And maybe they will if guys get injured or unable to play for a couple of weeks and they get big targets. But right now, this was working on Sunday. The game plan was spectacular to come out and attack first. And for Ravens fans, that might be difficult for us to understand because we're so used to the run game being a big part of what we do. This was a drastic shift, and I think it was a very clear strategic focus to attack the Lions with the pass because of their lack of pass rush and their inability to make really any coverage work, at least on Sunday. Appreciate you guys' time, man. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the graphic that my buddy made, the Street Fighter theme, obviously. I think it's amazing. I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this film study look at the Ravens passing game, attacking first and attacking often, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.